Meet Sami, an award-winning sports anchor based in Macon, Georgia. In this episode, we break down Sami's process as a broadcaster, as well as tag along with her as she captures content throughout Friday night football games. So don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into the show.
Well, Sami, thank you for coming on Convos with Aaron. I appreciate your willingness to be here, and also appreciate your connections to be able to have us film it on like a football stadium. That's crazy. That's cool.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to be here. Glad Bib Athletics got us out here at Harry B. Thompson Stadium in Macon, Georgia. I just love it here, and I'm glad that you had me here on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you're the first person that I have had on that's like a broadcaster. It's a proper broadcaster, and it's cool to see because when I was prepping for this interview, I was thinking my normal things to get people to answer questions.
Right.
But you talk for a living also, so
right.
it's going to be a little bit easier, I think, on me today. But that
I like
being said,
to think so.
Yeah.
I like to think so, but then sometimes I say things and I said, wow, that's really awesome to think that I talk for a living, and I said that out loud.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think it's probably even looser in my case.
Right.
I talk about all sorts of nonsense, but depending on the guest, I guess.
There you go.
But that being said, how did you get into broadcasting? Like, what was your introduction into broadcasting?
My introduction to broadcasting was actually getting going was in high school. I really wanted to do it when I was 8 years old. So I was watching NFL football, and that was what my first love. I absolutely loved the pros, and I grew up in Nashville, so the Tennessee Titans unfortunately were my go-to team. Most of the time it didn't work out for me.
Yep.
But we did have that one year where we almost beat the Chiefs, so that was really great. And of course, Miss Derrick Henry. But I loved the pros, so I wanted to do something with that. And so I went to Summit High School over in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and they have a really great broadcasting program there. I got started with Premiere at a very young age, freshman year of high school, all the way until all through my college years. So that gave me a great jump start. They had a little, we called it the Summit View. So a little news station-esque vibe there in high school. So that was really cool. Got to shoot games. Yeah. Then I went to Tennessee and, just love the Vols.
Yeah, that's
so
the
cool.
School to go to.
It's pretty good. They have a great program. I obviously loved my years. I did go to school during COVID, so that impacted it a lot. But one of my favorite things was really cool was, not to brag, but a claim to fame for me was to be Peyton Manning's first ever intern for their Omaha Productions company.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So he obviously loves the Vols probably more than I do.
Yeah.
And so he wanted there to be an internship program just for a Tennessee student.
Yeah.
So I got to be the first one and applied for that. And it was really cool. During COVID still, they were remote. That's the word. They were remote. So I was also remote, but I got to go onto a shoot over in California where they were filming one of Peyton's places. And it was so cool to meet him and see how they work and be on a production site like that. Even though that's really nothing compared to like what I do now, it was such a cool experience to have and to watch that happen. So really loved that. And then, so that kind of got me through COVID. And then senior year was really the same as it was freshman year, and we got to get back into everything. But with that being said, I didn't get as many internships in news stations in person, so that kind of, I feel like, affected my workflow now. But I was able to catch up. I just had to learn really fast.
So how was that like getting introduced when you didn't have all those internships? You just kind of had to learn all along the way?
There was a lot of tough conversations the first few weeks. But after that, I mean, I feel like just even in my first 12 months out of college, it was just night and day. And so it was really cool to see that rapid growth. And I feel like even now, even just being here for a year in Macon after 2 years in Tupelo, Mississippi, I still even look back from last year's August, like, wow, that's a whole different person to me.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. And it's cool to see. And in media, you really, and I can absolutely understand what you're saying. Because in media, a year is a big difference because you work on so many projects in a year.
Exactly.
And it's visual too, so you can see yourself and how much you've changed in a year.
And hear, most of the time for me, I hear the difference in my voice.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So it's like high school, I feel like I talked higher, and just you hear the youth, and I feel like now and progressively, I'm sure in 5 years, I'll think I sound really high pitched right now. But
So how do you train your voice then?
no, I think it's
Okay.
just like age. I
Okay.
guess maybe I've learned to talk deeper. That was also really funny. One of the first times I anchored our high school football segment in Tupelo, Mississippi, I remember sitting down, we had a consultant come in, and I get really excited when I talk about football because it's my favorite thing. And I was reading some highlights for something, and when I got excited, I went like 2 octaves up, and he told me that was change the channel level. And so I needed to bring it down. And so I brought it down.
Yeah.
And I think that was really helpful. I always appreciate blunt feedback because how else would I know? And I, to this day, remember that.
That's crazy. I mean, a lot of times people can be blunt, especially in television and in movies and stuff like that. But I think the bluntness comes with productive criticism. I
For
think.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bluntness to be mean and ill-spirited, and then there's like, I see potential in you. You could do better. Don't do this one thing ever again.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So.
Here's a quick look at the beginning of the night.
Only the second week of the 2025 season, but teams have a lot at stake. Over in Jones County, Junior Holloway is playing in his final season as a Greyhound, but he's looking to continue to make some noise, all while honoring his father.
Week 2 of high school football is here in Central Georgia. Friday nights don't get much bigger than this. We've got the rivalry clashes that are stealing the show and standout stars that are excited for the matchups, highlights that just might stand in center stage.
But we'll be there and we're excited.
Hey, I'm William Bizone. I'm a news and sports reporter here in Macon, Georgia for WGXA News, Fox 24 and ABC 16. It's August, it's the summer, Friday night lights are starting up. Love being out here on Friday night shooting games and loving the progress. That's for sure. You learn something new every day, you get better every day, and you look back at yourself, even last week or the week before last,
Let's get back to the convo.
What were, in your opinion, some of the moments where you've learned the most?
I think a lot of my learning experiences were in Tupelo. I think because it's just your first 2 years of any experience, you're going to be like a sponge and soaking up everything. And there was a really fast-paced environment because of how the staff was. And so you had a lot of opportunities to wear a lot of different hats. I got to produce full sportscasts, full newscasts. I got to anchor full newscasts as well, being so fresh out of college. That was a great experience. Anchoring sports on the weekends, going to Ole Miss, Mississippi State games. Those were amazing times. And I remember the first day, so I was an MMJ, and I still do that sometimes now too, where I'm out in the field by myself. So I'm shooting all my content by myself, I'm writing it by myself, I'm editing it by myself. And then when I'm live on air, I'm setting up my live shot by myself, and then I'm standing in front of the camera, talking about the stuff, tear it down, all that stuff, just me. And so I remember the first day I was out in the field for my first solo live shot, and I was doing 2 separate stories in Starkville, Mississippi, which was like an hour away from the station. I was running around like a chick with my head cut off. I didn't have like a solid workflow, so my timing was off and everything was so crazy. But I remember that day to this point because I learned so much in that day and like how to properly, like what timeline should you be shooting your story? When should you be sitting down and writing and editing? And I feel like that day really taught me a lot. So
wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see and hear you talk about just all the little elements that you have to do to create this product.
Yeah.
It's and I can also relate to that too. That's funny. It's all a process to get to a point. But we talked about this in the last episode. To see that final product is a special feeling. To be able to like hit export or be done.
Right.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Now, for me too, a lot of times I'll go back and edit some more stuff because I'm like, I don't know if I like this, I don't like that.
Right.
That being said, that's cool to hear too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, what is your favorite part about production, you'd say?
I don't know. I love like seeing a piece come together. I think that's really cool. And then like watching other people's reactions. I think one of my favorite things about my job is when I spend all that time putting a piece together, and maybe it's a piece that I have a week with, so I get some more elements to put in and I get to really think it out. And then a family member of the person that I'm doing the story on texts me and was like, saw the piece, like, thank you so much, it was so great.
Wow.
And that, like, I'm just like, that kind of makes me emotional right now. Like, that's why I do this. So I just really enjoy that part. And then I love being on camera. So I grew up shy to like the age of 5, which you wouldn't see me now and think that. And so I just like really sprouted since then. And I just love talking to people, love being on camera. And so that's also fun.
Feedback is a special part about it too.
Yes.
Because you can really, it really makes you realize too, in the moment, a lot of times you're caught up in the energy of it and the speed of it.
Yeah.
But then when somebody who's outside of it recognizes you, that's a very special moment.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Which
cool.
also like just going into like places around, I would never call myself famous or a celebrity or anything like that. But, you know, in a smallish area, people do recognize you. And so that's always really cool if I'm like out at Marshall's and someone stops me and then it's really another level if they actually know my name. Because sometimes it's really interesting. We talked about voices where if I'm in a store and I'm like talking to my husband or something about something, someone's a few aisles away and they hear my voice, they're like, oh, I know that. Because studies show people listen to the news or a broadcast more than they're actually visually watching, especially now with their phones. We're like scrolling and we're watching our show or whatever. So they're listening to you more. So if they hear your voice, then they're like, oh, wait, I know you.
That's crazy.
So it's really fascinating.
Well, when I'm editing too, and I do a lot of visual pieces, I always try to make sure that it sounds okay for the audio listeners because it is different when you just have music playing. You're like, okay, what's going on right now? But that makes a lot of sense. And to relate to that, I'd say I had a podcast in high school called Taco, and it was a bunch of my buddies, and we all were in separate parts of education throughout the area, and it's relatively small in Columbia. And I would get people in Kroger that would come to me that I never knew because they know the podcast from another school.
Oh, that's awesome.
They'd come and say, they just whisper in my ear, Taco. It was kind of weird, to be honest. But
that might be a different experience.
That's a little bit
like
different.
Kind of similar.
Kind of similar a little bit. Same
no one
context.
whispers in my ear.
That's a good thing because it's uncomfortable. And
Indeed.
Yeah, hopefully never again. But that being said, Sami, I wanted to ask too, what is your purpose, you'd say?
I think just maybe to make a difference, to shine a light on stories that people wouldn't otherwise know if I wasn't out there telling them. I think that's really cool. I think there's a lot of stories at the high school level of athletes going above and beyond, and you know, college games are so cool and such an atmosphere. I love to share with other people who don't get to go to the games or buy tickets, and they get to see what it's like and what's going on, and just to inform, you know, tell people what's going on and share my passion. And I think being peppy and happy when I do that is important, and that's just like kind of who I am. So
now let's capture her capturing some content.
So we're out here in Central Georgia on a high school football Friday night. A lot of action going on. We went live 2 times over at Peach County, where the Trojans hosting the Perry Panthers. And now we're bopping around Houston County for a few matchups. Veterans in Statesboro at Freedom Field right now. Then we'll head on over to McConnell Talbert Stadium, where we have Northside versus Baldwin. Then after we shoot those games, we're gonna head back to the station, edit everything together, and then front the Football Friday Night Show. All the highlights and action there at 11:35. Super busy night, but a lot of fun.
You go to Atlanta, it's bigger. I mean, literally, it feels bigger. I'm sure the stadiums are bigger. What is that? How different does that feel like going from somewhere like this to a much larger stadium in Atlanta?
I want to say it's night and day, but it's also kind of all the same thing. You know, like we're here at Thompson Stadium, and you have the field, you have the sidelines, you know, the stands and everything. But then you also go to Mercedes-Benz for the SEC championship, and you walk in and you're like, what is this alternate universe that I've stepped in? So vibe-wise, it's different, but when you're there, like doing XYZ, I mean, it's still the job, you know, and that's also why it's so fun to do what I do. Or, oh my gosh, covering the Masters, that is absolutely incredible. I know people whose bucket list sporting event is to go there. So to work the event, crazy.
And what was that? So going a little bit more into detail with that, what was that like? What did you do?
A lot of people talk about how, I mean, media relations and like how teams and other sporting events treat the media. Everyone's different, but everyone talks about how the Masters treats media so well. I mean, top tier. There's a restaurant in the media relations building just for media where you can just sit down and have a meal while you're working. So it's so great. All the food, the concession stands that everybody talks about is incredible. But day-to-day things, we actually have a local golfer, Russell Henley, who is a pro golfer. He's actually leading right now. The Tour Championship was after day one. So I don't know what he'll be doing now, but
Yeah.
so that's really cool. So he was competing in the Masters, obviously, and we were there pretty much covering him, but also covering the Masters and the traditions and all the fans who come from all over. We talked to people from Canada,
Wow.
from I think even across like the ocean. I don't remember where, but the UK maybe. But it was just so cool to see everybody like coming together. So we go there for one day. We go on the practice rounds because you can actually shoot your own video then.
Wow.
While the tournament is going on, you can't actually shoot anything because all the rights are owned. So which makes sense.
Oh, interesting. I
Yes.
didn't know that.
So
Yeah.
we go there and we just get all the content we need. It's like a content crazy day. You're just bouncing around different story ideas and kind of spraying generic videos. So when you think of another story idea, you have some elements to show for it. So it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool.
And talking about bucket list, you said that was a bucket list thing.
Absolutely.
What
It's
is there?
amazing.
Is that like the thing, or is there another thing that you have in mind that you would just
certainly.
love? Okay.
Certainly. I mean, that was definitely probably one of the top 5 things, but football being my favorite, that's up there. Like going to the Super Bowl, national championship for college football, which I'll also say I went to Tennessee and I loved college football then, but I don't think I truly had a passion for college football until I started working in the field.
Okay.
And then it just like when you walk into a college football game, you just have a whole nother vibe. Like I went to Tennessee games as a student, but I feel like it's not the same vibe.
Yeah.
Unless you're working.
Yeah.
So it was really cool going to Ole Miss and Mississippi State games and walking in there. And I went to an Alabama away game. So just walking in the stadiums and seeing all the different fans and what they bring and the excitement, it makes you excited. And so that's where I found my passion for that. But yeah, so national championship, Super Bowl. Any NFL game, honestly, at this point right now, any NFL game would be up there as well. So
do you get a chance to go to the Atlanta Falcons?
Maybe if they were to do something really big down the line, but like typically not just a regular season game. I don't normally work on Sundays, so normally we just have one reporter on Sundays. So yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what
she
is your...
chiefs the duties.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is your schedule like then, since you're working at football games, which are usually at night?
Right.
So what does your schedule look like?
It's pretty all over the place.
Okay.
For sure. I mostly nights though. Nights and weekends are when sports happen. So I always say that's when I have to work. So not your 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. During the off season, when it's not football season, I do get to work Monday through Friday. So that's cool, which was my first time ever working Monday through Friday.
Oh, wow.
Like 6 months ago.
Yeah,
So that was cool. Up until then, I was always having to work on the weekends. So that was nice. But now it's football season. So Saturdays are owned by college football. And so they also own my Saturdays.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, at least you got Sunday then.
Yes, I do. And I will sit and I will watch all the football games at one time. And I have the fantasy squads lined up and we're ready to go.
So you have like a master grid of all the football games, or is it
I just kind of yes, we do. Like Red Zone. We'll watch Red Zone. One TV will have Red Zone on, and then we'll have like split screen on another TV with other games that maybe aren't that we want to focus on, like our top players are in XYZ game. Then we'll have split screen going on another TV. We have a process. Or we'll go to Buffalo Wild Wings and sit and watch football
that's
for
a
hours.
Great. You can watch anything. You just swivel around 360.
Yeah, and they have the full games on the TV. So if you like want to lock in for offense on this game, but you want to see what your defense is doing on the other, it's cool.
Yeah, and I thought about it too. Eating there last time, I was like, what if they just turned on all the audio on all of these TVs?
That would be really overwhelming.
That would be overwhelming.
Yes,
Sensory overload. Yeah,
Yes.
but you know, in this day and age with TikTok and how you have everything stacked on top of each other, maybe it might work.
Yeah,
But
maybe some people wouldn't bother that much.
What do you want yourself to achieve, you'd say?
I think younger me now would think what I'm doing is really cool, which I also think what I'm doing is really cool. But I think also younger me and me now would love to get it to the network level, to SEC network, ESPN, one of those, maybe a top 10 station somewhere, who knows?
Yep.
So you have market levels, right? So that's basically how many households there are in the area that you serve in broadcast. And so however many households or faces or eyeballs can see you, makes it a higher ranked market.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by market 10 or above.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. And to put it into perspective, Nashville is, I think, market 24 or 26.
Okay.
So mid 20s. That puts it, and I mean, Nashville's huge. So yeah.
Well, and it's crazy too to think about, like with the digital age now and kind of people moving away from broadcast.
Also true. So we have to do a lot of other stuff. So it's not probably what somebody did. I mean, I know it's not what somebody did 5 years ago, and it's not what they did 10 years ago, and it's not what our bosses did 30 years ago. It's ever changing.
Yeah.
Right now we're on a huge streaming push. So like Netflix has streaming, Hulu has streaming. Most people don't have, or a lot of people don't have DVRs, especially people our age. So cable is not prevalent, but we do have YouTube TV and all that jazz. So our corporation has come out with, like, each station has their own Plus app. So we have our 13 WMAZ Plus app, and wanting to get people to watch the content we do on there. So we'll create a whole sports show for the streaming specific. So it doesn't go on actual broadcast TV. It's just going on the stream. So they have to go onto our app on the Amazon Fire, Apple TV, any kind of one of those. And then, so that's a big push that we're doing right now, because that's where people are. You meet people where they are.
Absolutely.
To tell them the stories you want them to hear. So
man, I see you guys have like the mega
massive,
huge cameras. And I'm just curious. I think I know the answer, but I'm just curious. What's the reasoning? Like if somebody were to ask what the reason is, you have to have such a big camera nowadays.
Just the quality that you can shoot in, and the depth that you can. I actually get that question a lot. Like, why are you carrying around this giant camera? And for me, for sports, it makes a huge difference. So mostly, like if you're out on the sidelines, you'll see, I mean, even the Atlanta stations have, I would call them boats. Like it's just even bigger than my camera, and I think my camera is large. So, but you can just zoom in, and it's still high quality, crisp image if you're from like this end zone to the next one. So that's what keeps it crisp and beautiful on air, and that's what you want, is high quality production. So
that makes a lot of sense too, because I think a lot of times too with these kind of cameras and cameras like DSLRs, you're limited, depending on your lens, obviously, but you're very limited in not only the zooming function of being able to quickly zoom, but also a lot of times you just don't have the length you need.
Or the foot, and will it be in focus when you do? And like, how quick is autofocus focusing?
Absolutely.
So
I shot a rodeo my high school, after high school actually, my 18th. I was 18, and I remember shooting on it was 18 to 35 millimeter lens from far away in a press box, like shooting the bulls. It's horrible. I had to crop it all the way.
You're like, if only.
If only I had a massive broadcast camera.
Then you'd be good.
That would be good, And
I think a lot of it too is like, what are you shooting for? You know, are you shooting for social media? Are you shooting for broadcast? Are you shooting for YouTube? And then that's what, you know, it pertains to, because a lot of people will be out on the sidelines and they'll have like little DSLRs or something. They're just shooting like social videos, hype videos, and all that stuff, and that works really well for that. My camera, not so well for that, but good for highlights and kind of what you want to do. So I get a lot of questions about what my camera looks like versus what theirs is doing and all that jazz. So
What would you say is your favorite part the night of? So you're the night of, you're shooting, you're setting everything up. I can imagine it's probably reporting, correct?
Yeah,
is that
reporting, it's, you know, presenting what I've done, but it's also just, it's the going aspect of it, you know, the not having to sit down and have like, you don't have minutes, like you're sipping water on the go. And especially for me on a football Friday night for high school football, we're going live a couple times before the games actually start. Games start at 7:30. I shoot some of one game, then I go to a different stadium to shoot some of another game, and then I'm off to the station to put both games highlights together and write the scripts on who's throwing to who and who's running and who's got the touchdown, whatever it is. And then we do the show at 11:35 at night, and everybody tunes in and they get to see what happened on the high school football stage. So it's just fun, and you're just always going and you're thinking of the next thing, and you're like, okay, I have a down minute right now between downs, or oh, there's a timeout, like let me write some of my script right now, let me write my intro, so we can have that done, and then you don't have to stress about it. So it's just learning the quickness of it. And that's a lot of what I learned in Tupelo too, is you were on Central Time. So the football show was an hour earlier, but the games still start at the same time. So I had an hour less.
Yeah.
So I was coming back to the station and you're just like knocking it out because you have no other choice. So you just have to learn how to do something fast.
Yeah.
And then you can learn how to do something well.
It's like hurry up and rates, like the thing.
It's like make slot, not perfection. That's
Yeah.
what you have to teach yourself. And as a perfectionist, it took a while for me to get that. Like you were saying, you're like, sometimes you export and you want to go back and like tweak some things. Well, sometimes you can't. Sometimes your one export's all you got.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you gotta hope it's good.
I think that's a creative thing in general too, that could be expanded even past media and what we do and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think just being able to know when something just needs to be done is an important skill you have to learn, I think, when you're creating something.
Yeah.
I think there's also a balance too of trying to still uphold quality even on a time crunch, which it sounds like you just talked about doing.
Yes.
And I can imagine too in journalism with this, it's loosey-goosey a lot of times. You can just upload it, it's just me.
Right.
But when you have a network that you're hired, I can imagine is that stressful sometimes?
Oh, it can be crazy sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I think one of the craziest moments I ever worked was last year's Georgia Tech game. We all saw, I mean, even if you weren't a sports fan, you saw it somewhere that it went into 8 overtimes, which is the longest SEC game ever. And I want to say maybe the second longest college football. I mean, it was definitely top 5 longest college football games in history. So that's crazy because just because the game's in 8 overtimes doesn't mean your show isn't currently going on and that you were supposed to have content from the game. So we were supposed to be live in our football Friday night show because still high school football is going on during that time in the fall. And we were not, because you can't be when the game is still going on. So we're just sitting and waiting for the football Friday night show is over and the game is still going on. It was absolutely madness. So, I mean, everyone back at the station did a great job of pivoting, filling in with different content. So that's what you have to do, is communication is also key, is letting people know like, hey, this is going on. We can't do anything about it. Like and that's a lot of the difference between like college and high school stuff, is you so much more free reign with high school. And like, if you have an idea like, oh, let's do it. College, you have to get a lot of different things approved. There's a lot of licensing. I mean, because there's so much money in college football, you know? And so there's a lot of different things. And so like, if the game's still going on, you can't go live while the game's going on. You can't, whatever, unless you're outside of the stadium. And then if you want to go outside the stadium, you have to go up and around, and then you're going to miss the end of the game. And so it's, it's just it's a balancing act.
So during halftime, is it like crazy and is your mind racing, or does it give you a chance to breathe?
It kind of gives you a chance to breathe, but it also stresses me out a little bit because I also feel like I'm standing here when I could be doing something. So that's why I write, so at least part of the job is out of the way, but I truly can't fully write my script. I'm sitting and looking at my video to see who did what and like what's exactly happening, and then I can time up the timing of the play to like the words in my script.
It's just cool to see from your eyes in terms of
And this is kind of a lesser version of that too, because maybe you'll see college games from a different light now, but sometimes you can catch one of the network people on the sidelines and they'll have a big camera with like a cord, and there's someone specifically behind them just working the cord, and they're doing the same thing I am with more stuff. So this is a smaller version of that. It's very cool. It's fun.
I wanted to say thank you to Sami for letting me tag along.
You have this freedom, and then other times there's all these restrictions. And I didn't realize that as somebody who's very much, I don't watch a whole lot of football. And so I can imagine towards the pros like NFL, but even college, I can that makes a lot of sense though, that they have all those regulations. So,
more restrictions there. So even if you're in college level and you're at a top tier game, I'm sure the national championship has even more restrictions. So I
mean, also, and I want to ask this too, because it sounds like you're in a lot of high pressure situations. How do you deal with stress? How do you recover?
Yeah, you just got to know your body. And I was actually listening to one of our producers the other day telling one of our new grads just out of college that you have to take your random Monday off just to like sleep in and give yourself that levity, that break that you need, because no one else is going to do it for you. Your boss
Yeah.
isn't going to be like, let me just give you off on Tuesday. Like, you have to be an advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
And I've really loved reading lately, has kind of been my escape, because we do so much with screens. We're on our phones for social media content. We're on our laptops editing video. You're looking at a camera screen, making sure your video is good. So I just have gotten so tired of looking at screens. And so I've really, really loved like reading an actual book too, not like an ebook.
Yeah.
So that has really just kind of given me an escape when I need to stop. And sometimes I feel bad. I'm like, man, I should be watching some sports show to keep up with what's going on at the national level. But then also I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I need a break.
That makes sense. It's all that blue light right there beaming through you. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I think there is a yearning too right now to kind of get back a little bit, like even with like physical media too,
Yeah.
even with like disc and stuff.
Yeah.
But also definitely books. It's
Yeah.
a big revival happening.
Yeah.
And I exactly what you said. I think that's probably why. It's
Yeah.
just because we're so entrenched in our screens because of our job, or because that's how we're getting constantly communicated to.
Exactly.
And I know I have this feeling whenever I get a notification, I have a bodily reaction where I just reach,
Right.
which is unhealthy, I feel
Or
like.
you feel like for me, it's my watch
Yeah.
and it does a vibration. And so now I find myself turning it over. It didn't even vibrate.
Didn't even
like
vibrate. I have
nothing
that,
actually
yeah.
happened, but it
Yeah.
felt like it did. So I'm checking.
Yeah, I could
So-
turn a certain way and it'll like make my pants ripple where I
Right.
think that
You're
I'm,
like, oh, that was a text. It wasn't.
It wasn't.
It's
And then
kind of crazy.
which I feel like a
Ghost
weirdo.
notification.
Yeah, I feel there's nothing there. And I'm like, am I crazy?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, but I guess that's just the age we're in right now.
It is. Yeah. So big fan. If you haven't picked up a book recently, do it.
What do you feel when you hop on YouTube and you see the most generic AI generated, or like it's the AI voice, most low effort content?
Right.
I'm sure they have it with sports. I've seen it with everything else.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel as like somebody who actually creates it?
Just the fact that you can notice the difference, it doesn't really make me concerned.
Okay.
And sometimes it gets me hooked onto something. I don't know what it'll be talking about, but I'm like, okay, that's, interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that's what people are really looking for. Even if AI creates some cool stuff, I think they still want that human interaction and human generated content. So
Yeah, that gives you a little bit of job security too.
yeah,
That gives all of us
I
in the
hope so.
creative field
Yeah.
job security.
Yeah.
That I don't think still you can't capture the human soul
Right.
with something that's generated.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that being said,
Mhm.
thank you, Sammy, for
Yeah,
joining me. It was
Absolutely.
fun.
Oh
So,
my gosh, it was so great. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me.
Of course.
Such a good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad I got to make the drive too, because it's
Absolutely.
fun to see, and then tonight
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get some shots.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you.
Beautiful area for sure.
Well, now it's that time to say you can subscribe if you want to, and you can like if you want to, and you can click the bell if you want to too. So all that stuff if you want to do. And thank you for joining us. And if you want to become a guest, or you know somebody who'd be great to become a guest, you can email us at convoswithaaron@gmail.com, and we would love to have you on. So, and I even traveled to guest. I traveled to Georgia just for
Here we
Sammy.
are.
All right, well, see you.